Peace and blessings, Israel. May the Most High, in the name of Yahushua, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, bless you all. My name's Brother Aram of the Boston Church, located in the Boston region. And Lord willing, tonight we're going to go into a specific topic concerning Isaiah the 14th chapter. Isaiah the 14th chapter, where it speaks concerning Lucifer the devil. And so it seems that over the years there's been so many interpretations of what that means and so forth. And so we'd rather hear what the Bible got to say for itself. And so that's what we'll focus on today. Short class, but great for edification and keeping the saints and the believers on their toes and focus on the important things, which is to fear God and keep his commandments in humility while he gives us his grace, which is sufficient unto us. All praises. And so let's start with the prayer. Then we'll get right on into the scriptures. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your holy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debt as we forgive our debtors. And do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. All praises to Yahweh, Yahushua, the Most High, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Thank you. Amen. All right, and so the question is in Isaiah 14, right? Or the topic in question, Isaiah 14. And we'll do a little investigation, right? That's how we solve the mystery, solve the case. So we at Isaiah 14th chapter, and we want the 12th verse, right? Which is tonight's topic. So it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" Right? So it's a question, right? In awe, right? A question in awe, meaning whoever this Lucifer is was in the height of heaven. That's a condition, right? Don't mean he was in the heavens with the Most High and then fell from heaven and brought angels with him and he had a coup d'etat. See, all that is pagan, satanic, idolatrous doctrines. But let's go to what it really means. How art thou fallen from heaven? One who is in the condition of its height, right? O Lucifer, son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground? So it repeats itself. Because by saying one who falls from his hypeness, he's no longer in that high position. So he ends up cut down to the ground. So you compare the height of heaven to where the location of the ground is, that's a great fall. So this is someone who fell from status. How art thou fallen from great status, O Lucifer, meaning light bearer? So that adds another clue. One known to claim to have the light or to bear light, right? And so that's part of the problem. The fall comes from a false light, one who was to bear light. And from this false light, he ends up cut down to the ground, right? When it says son of the morning, one born of so-called light, right? The sun rises up in the morning, right? So it didn't say son of the evening. It said son of the morning. It's talking about a comparison symbolically of that's the time when the sun rises, right? So a lot of connotations to a lot of symbolism, right? And so this is why a lot of occultic religions and occultic organizations take the Bible, take the symbology of the Bible, and instead of learning something so they don't fall into the trap, they end up being in awe of it, perpetuating the evil, and trying to personify this thing like the prophecy said. Okay, so you have one who fell from heaven, right? Fall from his status, and the title alone, he's one who led the world in so-called light. Lucifer, light. Son of the morning, and he's born of the morning, he's of the sun. Light. In other words, he represents light. Right? So they say. But if he was so much light, how art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations with this light, this false light? You see? So to answer who this Lucifer is, it's not a mystery. Because the 12th verse, the statement made in the 12th verse originates from the statements made from the verses before it. So you got to back up all the way to the 4th verse. Okay, Isaiah 14:4 tells us who Lucifer is in the 12th verse. Let's read Isaiah 14:4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the who? King of Babylon. And say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. So it's the same question, just posed a different way by the time we get to the 12th verse. How did the king of Babylon, who led a campaign of false light, because guess who he was dealing with? He was dealing with that spiritual entity, Satan, the devil, who transformed himself as an angel of light. Let's get that. We'll come back to this, but let's get that. 2 Corinthians 11 chapter. So it's known in the scriptures long time ago, before the so-called European even started a Roman Catholic church, the Bible been telling us who Lucifer was. Okay, it's twofold. It's talking about the spiritual entity, the devil, but he using vessels, so it's really saying the king of Babylon. And it ain't just stopped there at the king of Babylon. It said one who oppressed and jacked up the nations. So it's his whole kingdom, which got their marching orders from Satan the devil. Okay. So what can we learn from the prophets and from the apostles concerning this so-called Lucifer, right? So we want 2 Corinthians. Bear with me. 2 Corinthians 11. And I'll read the first four verses, and then we'll skip down. So Paul says to the church at Corinth in 2 Corinthians 11:1, would to God ye could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me. So he says, bear with me as I make this analogy. For I am jealous over you with godly jealousy. So he was protective over the church. For I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. So he's saying, as a father, which would be protective over his daughter, so she can be married off as a virgin to her husband. That's how I wanted to present the church to Christ. Right? Meaning the church be without spot and blemish, teaching them the right thing, being an example to them, show them the way of the Father through the Christ, the Spirit that was in Paul. 3rd verse. But I fear, lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety. Right? Who's this serpent? It talks about in Revelation 12 is the devil and Satan. So he goes back to he's making this analogy that as the serpent, the devil and Satan is one and the same. Beguiled, that word guile is in the middle of beguile, meaning sorcery, witchcraft. So the devil used witchcraft of words, right, subtlety, to beguile Eve. So your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ. So you see what defeats the serpent? the simplicity in Christ. So for the devil to win, he got to get you out of that. Because by getting you out of the simplicity of Christ, he can beguile you the way he beguiled Eve. That's what Paul's telling the church at Corinth. As long as you stay in the simplicity of Christ, meaning the teachings of the Christ, and build off that foundation, you can't get corrupted. But if the devil can beguile you from that simplicity, like he beguiled Eve from that simplicity, your mind as well as hers was corrupted, or would be corrupted. 4th verse. For if he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, so wait a second. 3rd verse talked about the serpent. 4th verse talks about a he. You see what we talking about? That relationship between the devil and how he uses vessels. So he's still talking about the serpent, but he's talking about the devil in a way where he manifests himself through false prophets, through false teachers, through false rulers. You see? So he that come along, what do you mean he that cometh preacheth another Jesus? That's he that cometh along with the serpent in him. That's what that means. For he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached. Or ye receive another spirit, which ye have not received. Or another gospel, which ye have not accepted. Ye might well bear with him. So Paul said, sad enough to say, there's those of you in the church at Corinth, all it takes for a brother or sister to come with a different doctrine that got the devil in them, and some of y'all might bear with them and be influenced. Right? So this is a good scripture, lets us know, although the Bible can talk about the spiritual entity, Satan, if you pay close attention enough, he presents or manifests himself through vessels. That's what that 4th verse talking about. So when we read in Isaiah 14 about Lucifer, and everybody's looking for Lucifer under the ground with a hot sauce bottle and a pitchfork, it's not necessarily talking about that in that context. It's talking about Satan the devil, but through a vessel. And at that time, it was the king of Babylon. And the whole kingdom of Babylon for what it represented. Idolatry, sorcery, witchcraft, captivity, hatred, bondage, corruption, fornication. You see, on and on and on. So we in 2 Corinthians 11. Let's skip down to the 13th verse. So Paul said, for such are false apostles. So when it talks about the serpent beguiling Eve, we to beware. He warning the church at Corinth, the serpent ain't coming like a snake with like a reptile. He coming as vessels. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers. See? Devil means deceiver. Transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. That's what you had going on, trying to creep in the church at Corinth. With slick doctrines. Right? And no marvel, meaning the believers of Christ, we not to marvel at this dynamic. For Satan himself, so who's the serpent? He was always talking about Satan. But in what form? Men, false apostles, deceitful workers who transform or so-called reinvent themselves as if they're the apostles of the Christ. But really they got the devil in them. And so we as the believers, Paul say, and no marvel, we not to be surprised. For Satan or the serpent himself is transformed into an angel of what? It's a light. What does Lucifer mean? Light bearer. So we ain't had to get no dictionary. We ain't had to get no European imposed fake definitions that's going to take us right back out the Bible. We stayed right in the Bible. The Bible told us. We're not to marvel because the Bible told us that old Lucifer, right? That old Lucifer, the trickster, transforms himself as an angel of light, an entity or a spirit of light. And so that's why when you think about what happened to Eve, and Paul used a good example, he said, he mentioned Eve in this chapter, but when you actually read the story in Genesis 3, she said, the verses ahead in earlier in the chapter said she saw that the food Satan was feeding her with, which we know that's all symbolism, like food for thought. So he was coming with philosophies, and she ate it up. So she saw that it was good or wise to the eyes, a tree to be desired, right? Tree to be desired means eating of its fruits, right? Never mention apple when you look at that story. Never mention apple, banana, mango, grapes, kiwi. It's talking symbolism. She ate of the devil's wiles and plots and schemes, right? And those were pernicious. Meaning, what does pernicious mean? When it was dealing with something dangerous, but it's not seen immediately until it is only seen when it's too late. That's what pernicious means. So that's why when the Lord caught up to Adam and Eve and it was time for the woman to answer for herself, she said, well, the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. You see? Well, had she just stayed in the simplicity of Christ, but so you got to understand the power of the devil. He ain't coming with a pitchfork. He ain't coming like that. He coming like an angel of light with partial truths, withholding truth, slanders and blasphemous things, right? To make things appear that are not. So if the devil himself, who beguiled Eve, transformed himself as an angel of light, that's what he means, light bearer, a false light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers. So what does angel mean? Minister, right? Angel means minister. Oh, we said vessels earlier, but minister. So if the devil transforms himself as an angel of light, you got those that got the devil in them going to be vessels for him, ministers of what? Righteousness, right? Transform themselves as a false light, meaning false righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So they may think they getting away with deceiving and plotting, and a lot of these groups, they think it's all about the amount of people in their so-called group, right? And the higher you go up in the more satanic the group, the people in the group are used for economic means to keep the group going. You see? So you have orders within orders within orders, means secret orders. And so you got a lot of people in these different religions and doctrines that get that face value or that superficial version of what the group is about. And then the devil plot and scheme and figure out who's in there to sell their own soul or whatever, sell their own mama out. And then he bring them closer to what the true meaning of the organization represent is satanic. You see? But they ain't never coming to you knocking on your door talking about, hey, I got a devil doctrine and I'm trying to get you destroyed by the time Christ come back. They don't come like that. They want you all into these religious books. They want you all into these languages, right? So somehow you into Bible dictionaries, you into the Zondervan, you into the Concordance, you into the Thesaurus, you into all these books except the Bible, and that's how you got God. So you're getting loaded with information, right? And all the devil doing is appealing to an idolatrous spirit within man. Right? That's what tell you in Acts 17. All that came to Athens at that time, Paul said his spirit was stirred within him because he saw the city fully or wholly given to idolatry. And then it described what the idolatry was. For all the Athenians came to Athens to either hear or speak some new thing. Right? That we get the term Gnostic. Gnostic is a short term for like you or that word diagnostic. You get the word Gnostic in the middle of diagnostic. If I want to know what's wrong with my car, they put it on the lift and they run the diagnostics and they tell me what's wrong with the car. So I get the knowledge of or the information of what's wrong with the car. So the Gnostics, they weren't into one specific tone of thought. They thought it was great to get all kinds of thoughts. So that's why, as much as this so-called European be pushing his bigotry and his prejudice throughout the world with his phony white supremacy. Okay, but he can't say that, so he called colonialism or the great explorers. See, you got to change the names, right? And think we stupid. But see, we was on the end of all his so-called colonialism and his so-called exploration. So we should know what that means. But through his books and all this phony stuff he got out there, you see it, and you know what it means. How he's treating the black and brown in the earth, but then we go back to sleep with his false information. He put you right back to sleep because hypnotism is one of the offshoots of witchcraft. Put you right back to sleep. Oh no, Lucifer is a 666. He's a guy under the ground that's gonna come in the year 3042. He right there in front of your face. Leaders and rulers and vessels, they got the devil in them. In the case of Isaiah 14, it was the king of Babylon and the Babylonian kingdom. What they represented was purely satanic, and that wasn't the first time. Because before Nebuchadnezzar, you had, going way back to his forefathers, you had Nimrod. And he was the first to join up with, how the nations try to banner up and join up against the Most High and try to overthrow the Most High with a new world order. Let's build a Tower of Babel to overthrow the Most High. And all the new world order mean, it's not that deep. It's not deep at all. That's when you stay in the simplicity of Christ, you can't get God. The new world order just means a world devoid of the God of the Bible. That's all that means. And you're living in that world right now. So we need to stop talking about, they want to do this and they want to bring a new world. They already in this new world order. They've been in this new world order from the time when Adam and Eve messed up and gave place to the devil. That's what Christ said. This world is, he testified that this world is evil. Ain't nothing good about this present world. You see. So it's not to the kingdom of the Christ you're going to see true light. You see. So the true light is Yahushua. And so let's go to Revelation 12 and mention something. I want to read 2 in Revelation. Well, I better read 1 because if I read the second one, it's going to take us away from that Isaiah 14. I don't want to do that yet. So we will read Revelation 12. Okay. Revelation 12th chapter, 9th verse. And the great dragon was cast out. So when it spoke about how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, this is a repeat. Okay. This is a repeat. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. So you read about a fall of the devil, right? But this is his final fall. So how did he fall out of how was he out of his status? That's what it's talking about. How did he lose his grip over the world? So he said, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. So when the Bible talks about the serpent, like we said, we didn't go to books of men. The Bible speaks for the Bible. It's the devil and Satan. Devil means deceiver. Satan means adversary. So he constantly deceived people, and he constantly showed them the way how to be adverse against God. That's what means satanic, how to be satanic, how to be adverse, blasphemous against the Most High. Most High say he created male and female. The devil say, let's have male and male, female and female. That's how he get down. Let's do the opposite of everything the Lord say. And let's have these trick, slick doctrines to make people stutter step. Oh, well, you got a point there. Well, because in the DNA, I might have been born or something. All that talk. But if you stay in the simplicity of Christ, the first page of the Bible tell you how many genders the Lord made. 2. But we try to get deep to hear or teach something new. That's idolatry. That's another God. That is not the God of the Bible. Okay. So it's very dangerous to be going to these other books like as if they speaking truth. The Bible is the truth. Let's read. So the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. So he started out with Adam and Eve. But the trick or the plan was to deceive the whole world constantly. So John the Revelator sees a vision of the deceit coming to an end. The adversity, or the adverse nature within the earth coming to an end. And he says he was cast out into the earth. There you go again with the symbolism. So we start now high, but we end up on the ground. What that mean? Lost his power, his grip over man. And his angels were cast out with him. So what they say ain't ministers. But people done lied and said, oh, there was a revolt in heaven and this and that. That's a lie. Now you sound foolish. Because it tell you in the book of Job, the devil go back and forth reporting to the Most High. How you kicked out, but you still reporting to the Most High? Okay, so they lies don't add up. The devil is under orders from the Most High. He can't do what he want to do. And he got to present himself. And he, even here, the same chapter, right? The same chapter says in the 12th verse, right? So let's finish that 9th verse. And his angels or ministers were cast out with him, meaning all those vessels, men, women, and children that allow the devil to lead them and to use them. When the devil go down, meaning his power and vibration is taken away from authority on the earth because it's time for the Christ to rule, all those that was down with the devil going down with him. That's what that means. So when you get to the 12th verse, same chapter, Revelation 12 and 12, therefore rejoice ye heavens. Why the earth gonna rejoice? Because the time for evil is over. And ye that dwell in them, right? Then it said, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. You see? And so, again, more symbolism. Before we can fully rejoice, woe mean destruction. The devil ain't gonna go out quiet. So this is why every day is more evil than the last day. You see what I'm saying? Every day is more evil than the yesterday. More new plots, more new schemes, more ways to trick man to become idolatrous, covetous, adulterous, sorcerous, wicked, foolish. So he's coming with great fury. And what is his only power? To deceive and to trick man to be satanic, meaning adverse. He needs you to do it. So he only gains power if you give it to him. So this great wrath is because he's coming with so much alluring and seduction and like you say, beguiling, that it works. And only reason, because he hath but a short time. That's why. He hath but a short time. Okay. And so when we talked about, we should have read on. We passed it. It was the 10th verse, because we were trying to make a point about the ridiculousness that Satan is under the ground and got cast out from the Most High's heaven. That's a lie. 10th verse say, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength for who? The children of Israel, the elect of Israel, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Messiah or anointed, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down. So as long as man is subject to sin, the devil who keep tricking him because he needs you to sin, see? That's the power he got over man. He needs you to be complicit though. But if you give place to the Yahushua rather than to the devil, he can't get you. So he needs you to be sinful. And then once he gets you to sin, what does he do? Which accuse them before our God day and night. So it can't mean he was cast out of heaven like that lie they tell us in Sunday church, which is not the Sabbath. Sunday is not the Sabbath, by the way. Because if he was fully cast out the way they tell us in them stories, how is he before our God day and night? And this ain't the first time the Bible said this. It said in the book of Job as well. It said in the book of Kings, I think 2 Kings, that the angels, the Most High got the righteous angels and he got the evil spirits, and they all do the bidding of the Most High. That's right. They all do the bidding of the Most High. Ain't no angels doing their own thing. Ain't no entities doing their own thing. Ain't no aliens, grays and greens and every other thing, lizards and the reptile. Ain't none of that stuff doing their own. They said, see, people foolish. And that's them books again. The devil gets you with the intrigue and the curiosity, you end up right out the Bible. And so you end up believing these false books like that phony book of Enoch that's posing as the book of Enoch. That is not the book of Enoch the Bible talk about, but that's the so-called European write his own book of Enoch and put in his pagan, Viking, Vandals, and every other thing. Roman Edomite mysticisms and Roman Edomite lies about Valhalla and all them stuff. But see, they try to Christianize it, change the names up, and so black folk repeat it with that old time religion. The Bible, it ain't saying all that, because it say he was cast out, meaning he lost his rulership, his grip over man. But he before the Most High day and night as we speak. And what he doing? Accusing us before the Most High day and night. But what happened? They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. That was the key point. When Christ died on the cross, like Christ told a woman caught in the act of adultery, woman, where are thine accusers? She said, I have none, Lord. He said, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. So once grace come in, it don't matter what the devil do. Because there's the few, the elect, that understand what the grace is for, to do things the right way this time. So while the rest of the world getting accused for their very own actions, words, and deeds, the elect understood what the grace meant and overcome the condemnation. And they overcame the devil by the blood of the Lamb, meaning grace. Christ dying on the cross for us. And by the word of their testimony, and it says, and by the word of their testimony, meaning their lifestyle. Now you're talking about the righteous forefathers and the righteous foremothers within Israel's history, including us. But we got to fit that bill, though. And he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. Right? And they love not their lives unto the death, meaning they had the elect have a spirit on them that they're not going to compromise. They're not going to backslide. They're not going to be given over to devilish things and satanic things where he can now accuse you. And so the God of all heaven and earth, who hateth all iniquity, will have to, force his hand and destroy the righteous, right? The backslider. See? So that's why repentance was a must to be taught throughout the world, so that the elect can escape these accusations and escape the judgment to come. That's the only group going to overcome it. Because all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. It's the only way we get out of this is grace. But men love darkness rather than light. Christ is that light. All praises. And so from there, right? Let's go to, I was thinking of one, but let's go back to Isaiah 14. So how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Was always talking about, well, it's talking about the devil, but in the form of vessels. And so the vessel in question at that time when Isaiah was given the prophecy to write it down, it was talking about the king of Babylon. It spells it clear in the 4th verse. So we'll go back to that, but there is something I want to read in John 12. St. John, the 12th chapter. Right? St. John, the 12th chapter. Just head that way and I'll give you the verse. And 1 second. St. John, the 12th chapter. It's about the 31st verse. Okay. And there's something else I'm looking for while you're heading to St. John 12:31. Bear with me. I got 2 Bibles going. Okay. All right. Okay. So we at St. John, right? 12th chapter, 31st verse. This goes with Revelation 12. It says, now is the judgment of this world, right? So when he's saying the judgment of this world, he's not talking about the planet. He's not talking about some location in the world. He's talking about the judgment or condemnation or end of the entity that runs this world. Read the next part. Now shall the prince of this world be what? Cast out. There's that term, cast out, again. Meaning lose his power. So even Yahushua, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, okay, we say Yahushua or Yahashua, meaning Savior. He's telling the believers, there's going to come an end to the prince of this world's rulership over the minds of men. His influence over the leadership of men, right? Well, the kings of the earth, they fall prey to his tricks and wiles. They done got rich, being devilish. But there's a time and a determinate end for this devil. And mankind is going back to the Christ. The whole vibration in the earth is going back to the Christ. So he said, now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out, meaning lose his power. But how? And I, meaning Yahushua the Christ, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw men unto me. So what was he saying? Where's all the men now? They rolling with the prince of the world. But Christ died on that cross to give Israel grace. It's going to be a switch, a polarization in power, where these same men who were formerly, like it's telling us in Ephesians 2, we were formerly following the prince of the power of the air, right? But the Lord, through his mercies, took us out of that world. So it took for Christ to be lifted up from the earth and will draw men unto me. This he said, signifying what death he should die. So when Christ was crucified on the cross, they thought they was getting rid of the Christ, but they was actually getting rid of who, though? That act of making Yahushua the Christ a martyr, you weren't killing the Christ. You was actually killing the spiritual grip or vibration of the prince of this world. That's the funny thing. And I'm laughing because the prophecy said that the Most High would laugh at that. See, Psalms 2, when they would try to come at the Most High by coming at the Most High's anointed, which is the Christ, Hamashiach, the Messiah, that the Lord would put them in derision. They said, let us cut their bands asunder. Let's let's get it. The Lord laughed at that. The joke is on them. So it wasn't an end of the Christ. It was an end of the devil. It just now you're living in the last days where the devil know he have but a short time. Ain't that something? They was out there crucified. And so remember, Christ spake of that. He was telling his disciples, this is the hour of darkness and so forth. In other words, this is where the devil gonna flex. He gonna flex, and it's just gonna be straight evil. They was spitting on Christ. They was cursing at him. They was making mockery of him. They was acting out their hatred by beatings and tortures and ripping up his flesh. Psalms 22 say, all my bones stare at me. So he was getting ripped up so much he could see his bones. The white meat off the bone, man. When really it was to trigger or initiate somebody else's end. So we had Psalms 2. For those that don't know, check it out. And so it says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? This was prophetic of the Greco-Roman Empire linked up with the wicked Hebrew leaders. Right? It's going to tell us the kings of the earth set themselves. You had Pilate and Herod, right? Roman Edomites. And the rulers take counsel together. There's your rulers of Israel, Hebrew Israelites who link with the heathen. So they took counsel together against the Lord, I mean the Most High. That's all capital letter. That's talking about the Most High. And against the Most High's, anointed, because Christ or Messiah means anointed. That's what that was aimed at. We gonna take a shot at the Most High and the Christ. And if we can't get the Most High, at least we can get the Christ who came in the flesh. So they said, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So that's what that was about spiritually. He that sitteth in the heavens shall what? Now you see why I was laughing? The Most High laughed at this. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. You see that? Then shall he speak to them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. You see? So though they was trying to get rid of the Christ, you weren't getting rid of him. That was the actual act, or let me not mix words, but the catalytic means, right? Catalytic means something that initiates into something else, a transformation, right? So they done set things in motion against the devil, not the Christ. He said, yet, what yet mean? Although they doing all this in the first 5 verses, yet have I, the Most High, set my king, meaning Yahushua the Christ, not David, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. That's the Most High's king. Upon my holy hill of Zion. Christ is the king, the Lord and Messiah over Israel. David said in Psalm 110, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou on my right hand till I make thy foes thy footstool. So it was always about David's Lord, not David. David and the rest of the kings of Judah were just holding down the spot for the true king to come up, to show up. And we living in that time where Christ coming as a thief of the night. So 7 verse. Although all this was going to happen, what did the Lord saying through the prophet David? I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son. You see? So David in the spirit talking how the Christ, Hamashiach, is the Son of God. This day have I begotten thee. What does that mean? He was going to raise up the Christ from the dead after 3 days and 3 nights as confirmation that this plot and scheme to get rid of Christ was laughable. And he declared the decree, meaning he backed up his words when he rose Christ from the dead to live life eternal. You see? All praises, Israel. All praises. So Christ dying on the cross didn't get rid of the Christ. It was a catalytic move to initiate and get the wheels moving. It's time for the devil to get lost. And he know he have but a short time. Ain't that something? That is something. And so, go to Luke 10. Since we talking about the devil have but a short time, and Christ said now, from the time when they would lift him up on that cross, that would be the end of the prince of this world. And so he says it again in a different way, but it's the same context. When you go to Luke 10, right? Luke 10, and I want to read the 17th verse. So we at Luke, the 10th chapter, right? But we want that 17th verse, right? So Christ had 12 disciples, but then, and that was the one within his inner circle, right? The ones within his inner circle. And he had 70 other disciples, right? And it said, and the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name, meaning through thy power and authority. That's what that means, through thy name, through thy power and authority. And with the power of the Christ that was in these brothers, they was casting out devils and doing great things in the earth to the glory of the Most High through the Son of the Most High. That was the spirit and the life force behind these brothers doing the will of God. And so the 18th verse, so Christ in response to these brothers having authority and making moves to help Israel, and the devil was being cast out, meaning losing his grip over Israel, he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. So when he said lightning fall from heaven, everything about lightning, think about why he used it as an analogy. Lightning is powerful, but lightning is fast. Here today, gone tomorrow. I mean, in other words, that's even too long. And lightning light up the whole sky, don't it? So the devil coming powerful, full of light, but it's just an instant though. You see? So those in the occult, right? So we understand what Christ was saying through these great things that the 70 disciples were doing in Christ's name. This was a blow to the devil's kingdom. So Christ said, I knew this would happen because I beheld Satan as lightning falling from heaven. See, to man's years, it seemed like about a long time we've been waiting for the prophecies to come to pass. But to Christ, this thing quick. The devil, his power over from the time he got Adam and Eve till the time Christ come back, it's quick. Christ said, I knew this would happen. You see? And so that symbol of lightning, okay, because I remember I told you, you got those who read the Bible not for the edification of the Bible, but to find out everything that the Bible says is wrong. You see? When the Bible say don't steal, they want to steal. When the Bible say don't kill, they want to kill. So they want to find out everything that the Bible says is wrong to do, they want to do. So when they see that Christ says Satan fall from heaven, meaning out of his rulership, his status, but it was instant to Christ. It's like lightning. It's powerful, but it's like lightning. It's not that powerful because it doesn't have longevity. Christ has longevity. He the true light. So guess what the occultic people done did? They done use the lightning symbol to represent or symbolize Satan. So this is why you got so-called Zeus. He come with the lightning. That's the phony Greek god. They got Thor, so-called god of thunder. They got lightning symbols on some of their so-called superheroes, which in the Greek hero mean God. Greek gods. You see? So we want to be careful dressing up our kids about some superheroes. We ain't supposed to be doing that. Okay. And so they try to kitty up the thing and make superheroes. Right? Oh, they ain't really false gods. It's heroes. See, they good for men. They look out for you. See? And every superhero they got is some form of Satan. So they got symbols for these guys. Some Thor, he's supposed to be thunder. And Shazam got the lightning symbol on his shirt. Right? They just did a movie with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He's supposed to be Adam or something, the Black Adam. He got a lightning symbol on his outfit. when you talk about the SS, the Nazi SS, they telling you it's the SS, but that's really a lightning symbol. That ain't no letter S. That's the lightning symbol to their god, Satan. You see? So if you're walking around the earth reading their books like that, there's some hope. They the ones gonna tell you about God. They God has always been the devil. Let's go back and finish in Isaiah 14. And they present themselves as angel like, and they tell you false interpretation of the Bible. You understand? Because the Bible is the book of the Israelites, has always been the book of the Israelites. It is not by coincidence that all the prophets are Israelites. David, Israelite. Moses, Israelite. Isaiah, Israelite. The apostles in the New Testament, Israelites. Christ, Israelite. John the Revelator, Israelite. But we letting the nations tell us that like as if they the people of the book. We gotta wake up, man. So back to Isaiah 14. So we should understand by now from the scriptures we read that when it talks about the spiritual entity Satan, a lot of things go down in a physical way, but it originates in a spiritual way. So it ain't just limited to, well, Satan. No, it's he using vessels. Right? All right. So Isaiah 14. So when they say the devil and his angel, he talking about vessels. So let's read that fourth verse. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. So all these verses is talking about Nebuchadnezzar and what his kingdom represents, because it was a collaborative effort. Remember, Babylon, right? So I don't know if we'll have enough time, but Babylon was known as a mixed kingdom, right? A mixed kingdom, a melting pot, right? So it ain't just the king of Babylon, but what he represents. Because Nimrod started that campaign. We need to he was the first to have everyone join up under one banner and try to overthrow the Most High. So they've always come with that globalist, let's all join hands, not to be for the Most High, but to be against the Most High. It's a trick doctrine. And every empire, every heathen nation have took up that song sheet and under the spell and enchantment of those protocols and that agenda. And the last group to try to make this thing work under some new world order, a world full of the devil and a world devoid of God, is this so-called Europeans leaders. And he joined people up in the United Nations and all these other organizations, some of them outward that pose as philanthropist groups, some of them more hidden, and they all got sinister things that they stand for, that they represent. But they can't tell you that or show you that. So when they show it to you, they got to show it to you in plain sight. They got to trick you, give you misdirection. Oh, this war, we going to war because of this reason and that reason. No, you're going to war because you're under the devil. And the devil tell you lie to the people. Tell the people you're going to war because whoever you're going to war against, it'd be the same crap. You're the same movie, different characters. Oh, they killing babies, they gassing women, they're tyrants and villains and dictators, evil dictator. George Bush Sr. Noriega's an evil dictator. Oh yeah. Well, why was the United States government went into Panama jacking up the Panamanian people? If Noriega's evil, go get Noriega. Why are you jacking up the Panamanian people? Because it was a takeover. It was a takedown, man. They didn't want to give up that canal, which is a strategic point in that region of the earth, when they lied and broke the treaty and said they were supposed to give up that canal by the year 2000. So they stirred up some mess before the year 2000, right before they had to give it up. So this man breaks his treaties all the time. And he stirred up some misdirection, and the people thought it was all about, the Western European type propaganda was looking at Noriega sideways, and then the people fell for it and felt that it was justified to jack up Panama. And they got a documentary out. I don't know if it's still out there because, they trying to hide the truth, but it's called The Panama Deception. They got two of them. The Panama Deception, then they got another one, The Panama Deception Revisited or something like that, which was 10 years. The same people who did the documentary, they came back 10 years later and revisited the whole thing. And the 10-year one started speaking of the guy, Humberto Brown. Okay, Humberto Brown, very good brother. I think he's Dominican, or forgive me, but I forget what. He's one of us though, and one of our people. And he was speaking on what was being done in Panama was being repeated in Iraq. How they had to demonize these guys so they can have a fake reason to get up in there, right? Little did when Humberto Brown was saying these things, little did we know that they done lied and said some WMDs. So you see, you don't need to know the entire plot. You just need to know how to read the language. Then it becomes predictable. So as long as this world is controlled by the devil temporarily, you do not to look for any righteousness or justice in the earth. You understand? We waiting for the kingdom of the Christ. So we at Isaiah 14, and we coming to the close of the class. And so it's talking about the king of Babylon, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased. So this is twofold, because the same devil and entity that was rolling with Babylon, which was a superpower of its time, it keeps skipping. It'll go to the next superpower and the next superpower, right? And each empire and kingdom will be rolling with the devil, right? Okay. And so when they give you these stories that ancient Egypt was getting schooled by aliens, and they were being visited by great ancient visitors, stop all that. They was dealing with the devil. It ain't hard. Just like this modern day Egypt, they dealing with the devil right now. And tell them how to trick the world and do this and do that when they really being tricked. Because the scriptures say to deceive and the deceivers are the Lord. So let's finish. So we know it's talking about the king of Babylon. It's not talking about some invisible guy under the ground who got a pitchfork waiting to put hot sauce on your knee so he can bite you. That's folly. Okay. So this great, not only Babylon would fall, and it says they would oppress the world. That's it. So the Lord was going to have them cease and fall to the Persian and Mede Empire. And so the golden city ceased. As great as it was, it came to an end. And their greatness came from, if we bear with me when I say inside trading, like you see how some of these rich folk get rich off the stock market because they got inside information. And so that's how these wicked nations get rulership. They got inside information. The devil give them marching orders, and then they get economic incentives and benefits by selling their soul to the devil. And the devil keep telling, I want soul, I want innocent souls, I want deaths, I want blood sacrifice, I want all that. So this is why it's always got to be deaths. There's always got to be missing people, sex trafficking, drugs. There's always got to be fear, because they play off your fear. If they can get you to be fearful, they're sensitive to negative energy, these people in the occult. So this is why every time around October 31st or coming close to that, they need you in fear, because that fear is a spirit. And we know the Bible say that. The Lord have not given us the spirit of what? Fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. So then who wants us to be in fear around that October time? The devil. And so you got people, yeah, they love all that. Yeah, this is great. And they playing off your fears. That's why they got to put all them horror movies out, so you could be in fear. And they can do their harvest time rituals and rites to the devil around that time of the year. But that time of the year calls for fearfulness. Other times of the year calls for blood sacrifice as well, but it calls for fornication, like Christmas. You see? like New Year's. But the October one, they need your fear. And people fall for it. So you don't watch Halloween Part 22, right? And played into it. So we got to be careful. You have to be careful. You understand? I mean, we in the world. We can't escape all the wickedness of the world, but we just be wise and just use discretion. So we're not playing into a lot of this negativity. But you got people who love that kind of stuff. Oh, they got the Michael Myers Part 73. I'm going to see it. Do you understand why they putting that out there at that time? Because that's the time for the witches to get off on your fear. You understand? All right. And so Isaiah 14, let's read that 12th verse. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? So Babylon was the superpower because they was dealing with the devil. But it speaks of them falling, and so that's the trick of the devil. Every time he link up with a nation, it's not for that nation to stay on top. It's for that nation to be worse off from when they started with him. You see? And let's not sleep. He did it to the Israelites as well. God's people. You see? Because once our nation started going after the things of the devil, especially Solomon, what happened? The Lord say, I'm gonna start dividing Israel and weakening Israel, and they go into captivity throughout all nations. You see? And we were no longer the 12 tribes of Israel. The Lord started breaking us down. The kingdom split after Solomon's death. And it was on and popping ever since. So that's why the only way to overcome the devil was through the blood of the Lamb. Christ had to get on that cross so we could have a chance and start over. And that's where that new covenant came in for the very people who breached the first covenant. The Israelites. Not the whole world, the Israelites. All praises. The whole world is saved through Israel being saved. But the nations, they're not saved directly through Christ on that cross. See, that's another lie. Now they're trying to put themselves in a covenant that never belonged to them. Both covenants belong to the house of Israel and Judah. Now, I don't know how you can't spell Israel and Judah, but they do it. They play games. They know what to say, but they got to lie. Right? Okay, so that's what that. And so there was something else, and I can see if I go there, we're going to end up somewhere else. But there is something I do want to read. As we read on Isaiah 14, and it keeps talking about the king of Babylon. It says, yet shalt, this is the 15th verse, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, meaning you're going to fall out of your power and be destroyed, to the sides of the pit. In other words, you're no longer the top nation anymore. You to receive the judgment for all your evils and sorcery. So that's in Isaiah 47. But we just reading this here. They that see thee, see, when they saw the fall of Babylon, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee. What does narrowly mean? Look at you like you're small. And consider thee, Babylon, saying, is this the what? The man. You see what we talking about? When it's talking about Lucifer, is symbolically talking about the king of Babylon and what his kingdom represented. These are men upon earth, man. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Meaning nobody could overthrow the power of the Babylonians for a long time. You see? So here say Lucifer in the 12th verse. 4th verse let us know who it was, put a name on it. And then if we wasn't clear that it was dealing with vessels, what did it say in the 16th verse? They that see thee, they're going to see this Lucifer at that time in the form of what Babylon represented: witchcraft, sorcery, captivity, right? Bloodshed, fornication, right? Covetousness. So they narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Man, how you was on top? Once they seen the fall of Babylon, it was amazing how great Babylon was, and then it fell in an instant. And people say, man, all that power, all that fear and authority that they wrote is gone, right? And the people despised them, and the Persian and Mede Empire took over. But they weren't out the woods either. The Lord destroyed them too. The last kingdom to go is this Greco-Roman Edomite kingdom. And so let's end with this one, Psalm 137. Psalm 137. So that Isaiah 14 is twofold, as it talks about the king of Babylon, and it talks about that first, that ancient Babylon. Now, but we in a modern day Babylon, though, right? We in a modern day Babylon. So let's check it out. Psalm 137. It say, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. So now it's talking about how Israel was put into captivity when Babylon rose up. We were one of the kingdoms they conquered. And that was by design, because the Lord warned Israel through the prophets, y'all keep breaking my scriptures and I'm going to send Nebuchadnezzar. See, scriptures like Jeremiah 4. I'm going to send them and y'all ain't going to never recover. So, yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. Okay, so it ain't just the slave ships through the triangle slave trade that we remember the past 400 to 500 years. We was going into captivity on cargo slave ships going way back to the establishment of Babylon. The Israelites was under by the rivers of Babylon, getting shipped up and down throughout Babylon's domain. It said, we hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof, for they that carried us away captive, right? That's why we didn't read the rest of that in Isaiah 14, but it said, one of the things it said about Babylon, he who openeth not the house of his prisoners. So once they took Israel in captivity, they never let us go. It took for the Lord to make Babylon fall for Cyrus, king of Persia, to now come in and allow the Israelites to return back to Jerusalem and rebuild the foundation of the temple. But as long as Babylon ruled, they held us fast. They would not let us go out of captivity. And when we were in Babylonian captivity, we were known as either the captivity of the Jews or the children of the captivity. So a lot of parallels to this modern day Babylon. They ain't let us go yet. And every time we tried, Marcus Garvey and all, they would not let us go out of this modern day Babylon. So it say, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song. See, that was despite us. You bring us terror and turmoil, and you expect us to entertain you. Ain't that still what they do now? Well, they got that from the devil. Remember, Lucifer, the devil, was telling Babylon how to treat us, how to get down. And the same thing go on with this modern day Babylon. And so it says, they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of those songs of Zion. See, that was to mock us. So he said, how shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget thy cunning. So we was never supposed to forget our homeland. We was never supposed to forget Jerusalem. Well, you got bro talking about some back to Africa stuff. Talking about some Kemet. Talking about some Habiba Baliba stuff. Right? We were supposed to never forget Jerusalem. Right? But what happened? We were sold to the nations. And we ended up in different regions of Africa, but that's not our homeland. We forgot. Our homeland was Jerusalem, the land of Israel. So it says, if I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. You see? So our people still in a captivity type mind when we talk about our homeland or our origins is other parts of the earth besides the land of Israel. Let's read. Remember, O Lord. Check out what the Spirit say through David. Don't forget, Lord, The children of Edom, an entirely different race from the Babylonians. Now, the Edomites is the so-called European. That's his ancient biblical name, Edomites, the children of Esau. And we do classes on that. Again, every class is Bible verses, not other books. Other books would have you think Edomites is you. That's how bad it is. So remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. That's the so-called European. In the day of Jerusalem, meaning when Babylon took us down, Edom was one of the kingdoms that was, how should I say, complicit with the destruction of Jerusalem and the destruction of our temple. And it was Edom's idea, who got the devil in him as well, who said, raise it, meaning burn that temple down, even to the foundation thereof. And that's how our temple got burnt down the first time, because it was the children of Edom who was along with the armies of Babylon, and they joined forces and they took the Israelites down. So this was an ancient hatred and an ancient envy that the so-called European has always had against the children of Israel, us. And that's found in Ezekiel 35. It tell you that perpetual hatred, Ezekiel 35 and 5. And you also got Obadiah 1 and 10 down to 18. It talks about when Israel's iniquity came to an end, meaning when it was time to pay up for our iniquities. The Lord allowed Babylon to come in, and Esau was one of them with Babylon. And said, burn them, bro, burn them temple down to the ground. So what did it just call Edom in the 8th verse? O daughter of Babylon. So it's symbolic. If you got the mother, the daughter is as the mother. So whatever being said about ancient Babylon, Edom would be the daughter of Babylon, a second Babylon, who are to be destroyed. Just as the first Babylon was to be destroyed, this modern day Babylon is to be destroyed. It was being already said in Psalms before they even came into power under Alexander and the Greeks, and then it translated to the Romans. Now we in America, in Britain, and all these colonial occupied parts of the earth. It was said before they came into power that they was to be the daughter of Babylon, man, coming the spirit of Babylon, which is Lucifer, the devil, who ought to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. You see how the Bible talk? Completely different from the old Sambo song and dance. The Bible talk about vengeance coming from the Lord. How he gonna rise up for those that came against us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Now that's Christian. How we know? Because it's in the Bible. Okay, Christian ain't pick a verse here, pick a verse there, ignore the other verse. Christian is the whole Bible. You understand? Because if this ain't Christian, then why is Christ coming back for judgment? He should be coming back for some cotton candy. Okay, so we don't really understand what Christian is. You see? So when I say we, meaning our nation. Only a few understand that this Bible spells bad news for the heathen. Super bad news. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And it's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth our own people who didn't remove themselves from Babylon. That's what Revelation 18 talk about. Come out of her, my people. For the Lord have remembered the sins of this modern day Babylon. And it reached unto heaven. And if you caught up with the ways of Babylon, you're going down with them. Okay. And so with that, we'll end it there. I just wanted to get that last one, right? And so we got to understand, Israel. The Lucifer in the Bible was always talking about Satan working through vessels. And most likely he start with the leadership. He has to use people in power. That's why he gives them power. You don't just mess with the guy that's in the dungeon or the guy that's, pushing a mop. He need the guy that's in power. The religious people, the bankers, the politicians, the so-called kings and rulers of the earth. You see, the so-called scientists and physicists, the generals, the people in charge of war. He uses them kind of people. All the way down to your local magistrates, all the way down to your so-called brotherhood groups. They claim that they come together as a brotherhood group. They really about that occultic stuff. Slick. You understand? Because that's witchcraft 101. They can't just be a witch by themselves. They're told and instructed. You get positions of power. Any position, you get you a job in the courts, you get you a job in the law enforcement, you get you a job in education. That's why a lot of your professors are top witches. Top witches. And they teach a surface type philosophy based on whatever you majoring in college. And then the devil that's in them will have them try to attract to whoever they feel can be worthy to the cause. And then they teach that person as an under initiate into the occult. So a lot of college students end up into these occultic groups, these hidden groups, these secret societies and fraternities, thanks to their professors. And then they keep passing that, so the next guy and the next guy, you see. So that's when we tell people about these things. It's, no, I've been a Mason all my life. I believe in Jesus Christ. Yeah, because that's the surface of it. But the further you go up into that stuff where they can trust you with full evil, they'll tell you straight up, hey, that Christ guy we was telling you about, they switch it. They say, well, he's the evil one, and the so-called Christ that you're supposed to follow is the devil. He's the good one. He's man's friend. That's how Eve got caught out there. The devil was her friend. And the devil left Adam and Eve hanging when it was time for the Lord to step in. You see? That's how he do. He trick you to do the evil, and then you left holding the bag. And so look at the earth. Look at society. All this evil, who's paying for it? Humanity. The human family. You see? But the devil's tricking those at the top that they're not going to suffer, okay? Because they was put on the earth to be the apex predators. And all predator must have prey, so you consider useless eaters. That's why they got no problem phasing you out. That's why they got no problem with food shortages. Engineering these things. There is no food shortage. There's no transportation shortage. Why is the ship sitting off the coast? Why aren't they at the docks being unloaded with the goods? So they be engineering these, fabricating these shortages to control. That's what it talks about who had the world in captivity and opened not the house of his prisoners. They gotta keep their button on humanity. They can't let you be truly free and operating, eating, and enjoying life, because then you're gonna wake up and say, well, what we need government for? We don't need them. What's the purpose of elected politicians? We doing just fine. Just people dealing with, interacting with one another, bartering and trading and dealing in business and hiring and labor. And so they got to have their hands in all and trick the people that you need these things. Oh, it got to be regulated by the government. No. How did the earth deal without these governments? Common sense. The butcher traded with the baker. The baker traded with the carpenter. See? They bartered. Whoever had the spice bartered with the people who had the meat and the milk. And whoever had the rice and the beans. And whoever had, was handy with the skillmanship and so forth. So that's how he did it. So we can't have that. You see? So they get in on all that, and then they make you think that that's normal. That should be normal. Okay, but can you imagine if you make an agreement? I'll say this, then we got to go. If you make an agreement to offer services, right? One guy hires you and he pays you for your services, right? I'm just saying in a generic way. It doesn't matter whatever those services are. Cleaning, cooking, making sprockets. That's your service. You offer those services and you make an agreement. I got a company. I want to sell these sprockets, and I'm hiring you for your services because you're good at making sprockets. That should be the end of it. It's a mutual setup. He's got the money and investment to hire employees. You got the skills to make the sprockets. Together, y'all gonna make that money. Where do I get off as a third party and say, hey, I want a percentage of that? You're gonna look at me crazy. Both of y'all gonna look at me crazy. What do you mean percentage? Yeah, I want a percentage of that. And I'm gonna make a law that any type of agreement between employer and employee, I should get a cut. That's highly unjust. And you ain't never seen that in the scriptures, but that's how they got down in these governments. And people think it's normal. So by a certain time of the year, they got to turn in the paperwork and make sure that they pay their cut, that percentage, to a third party group. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You see? But with all these algorithms, I don't want to say all that, so I'm just saying it in this form of fashion. Okay, there's no way that a third-party group should be getting a cut between an employee and an employer and his employees. But this is what they do. Okay, all right. And so with that said, we'll end it. Let's end with the prayer. And so, let's meditate. Heavenly Father, in the name of Christ, bless us in all things. We ask for your mercies. Hide us from the eyes of all the evil and evildoers, and let them be put in derision. Let them fall upon them that fall, and let those who collaborate and who they call friends become their enemies, and let them all fail and fall together. As for those who have trusted in thy name and stayed humble in thy precepts, let your angels encamp around about us, and rise to the prey for those that would wish us harm and do us harm. Let us have food and clothing, shelter, and raiment, like thou hast promised us in Psalms 91, 1,000 on our right hand, 10,000 to the left, but you would protect us through these tough times. All praises. So we ask for your mercies, healings, upliftment, and blessings for your saints scattered throughout the world. In the name of the Father, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai the Christ, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, thank you. Amen. All right, Israel, so go with God. Peace be unto you. And never forget, okay, this is a satanic world, and you should your hope and vision should be in 100% what this Bible talking about. Getting out of here and hoping to see the kingdom of the Christ fast as it can come. Because this world is for the birds. All right. And so peace and blessings unto you. My name's Brother Aram. Shalom.